I used to think business was so simple. Go get more leads, make more money, boom, done. But it turns out that that was far from the truth. In fact, 12 months ago when I was getting started in my business, I had 30 deals in escrow at one time. I thought I was on the top of Mount Everest. I thought that everything was going my way and I was going to absolutely crush it. And turns out that was very far from the truth. In fact, everything went downhill that month because I was trying to do too much with the wrong people, and 2 months later, I was able to double the revenue I made that month with a literal tenth the amount of deals. So in this video, I'm gonna show you how I did that by applying 5 principles that will increase the quality of your leads and decrease the quantity so that you can make more money in less time. And all I ask is that if you guys enjoy this, if you learn from this video, you hit the like button and subscribe to my channel so that more people can see it and learn from it as well. Now, before we get started, we have to establish our baseline when it comes to the quality of your leads. And when we're talking about leads, we're defining anybody that you have the ability to contact that can potentially pay you money at some point, right? These are the people you're looking for to build your business. But we have to play the quantity versus quality game. And so when it comes to increasing the quality of your leads, which we're gonna be breaking down right now, you are naturally going to be decreasing the quantity, right? You're going to be filtering, funneling people out. And so I want to establish that for you now, that everything I talk about is going to be filtering people down. And when we get through this list, we'll then talk about how you can strategically implement this in your business depending on exactly where you're at. So let's talk about strategy number 1, targeting. Your targeting is absolutely essential to decreasing the amount of leads that you're getting that are bad leads, right? If it's good leads, obviously we want it, but we want to focus on our targeting in our leads so that, for example, if you are looking for a person that is a male, you want to target men, right? You want to make sure that you are not bringing in females that don't fit into what you're looking at, right? And the same thing is true in your business and anything. So with transactional funding, the business that I am primarily focused on, I have so many different people that I can look at to get deals, right? We've got wholesalers, we've got buyers, investors, commercial, multifamily, whatever it may be. And if I want to focus on a specific thing, which focus, one of my favorite words, right? If you want to focus on one specific thing, then you have to decrease the amount of people that are coming in that don't fit into what you're looking for. Which, by the way, a caveat, a precursor to that is that you need to know what you're looking for. And so in order to successfully target people, here's what I do. First, I look at what my actual goal is. If your goal is to make money doing a certain type of deal, a certain type of service, whatever business you may be in, you want to niche down on what the perfect accomplishment, the perfect thing is that you want to be doing with that business, and then work backwards towards the ideal target. So easy example in my funding business, right? If I was to work with, let's say, wholesalers, people that are going out, getting properties under contract and then selling them and trying to make, the difference, right? A profit on those deals. If I was to focus on wholesalers, there's 2 types of wholesalers that I can look at, right? I can look at people with no experience and I can look at people with a ton of experience. Now, ideally, I'm going to be looking for people with lots of experience in the transactional funding game, at least, so that I know that I have people that are more trustworthy, that have a track record, that know what they're doing, that are likely going to have a higher success rate, right? All of these things are things that I can focus on instead of just saying, hey, anybody that's a wholesaler, come to me, right? And so by targeting those people, I am going to decrease quantity and increase quality. Now, how do I do that? Well, it's pretty simple, really. I look at it typically in terms of the watering hole is what I call it. So where do people that are experienced wholesalers spend time? Well, if they're experienced, they're probably busy. And if they're probably busy, then there's going to be places they spend more time than others, maybe higher level networking events or communities where people are talking about scaling, right? Talking about hiring, talking about these things that aren't level 1. It's more like level, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 up here instead of back here when you're getting started. And so if you are looking to work with experienced people, you may not be going to, some generic webinar event that's just a bunch of newbies. You may not be going to a meetup that's just a bunch of new people. Instead, you want to focus on where are those people at. And if you can focus on where they're at and you can target them specifically, then you can decrease the amount of people that are coming in. And that's how I have used targeting in my business. And by the way, you have to find a way to quantify this, right? You need to find a way of saying, okay, well, how am I defining experienced, right? They've done a deal, they've done 10 deals, they've done 100 deals. Is it that they've been in the industry for 10 years, more than 1 year? Like, how are we defining these things? Because you have to come up with those definitions, right? You have to quantify what it is you're looking for before you can actually niche down and figure it out. But once you do that, you can target the right people for your job. And here's the kicker that I think everybody overthinks. If you target too specifically and you have too little of leads, then you just open it up a little bit, right? You just increase quantity by, again, decreasing quality and or moving around what your parameters are, what you're looking for. So, if you said I'm only looking for men that's age 21 exactly and has blue eyes or whatever, like you can niche down really, really far. But then if there's not enough people, then you can just widen back out, right? So both ways work, both in decreasing and increasing. But either way, that is how I use targeting in my business. And most people look over the targeting aspect because they're so focused on just bringing people in that they don't have any idea how to actually get the right people. So if you can work backwards, you will have a much better success rate. At least I know I have. All right, now strategy number 2 is increasing the amount of steps that somebody has to go through. Let me explain. When somebody is coming to get use of your business, right? Or you're going to use somebody else's business. Say you're looking to get a quote on a roof replacement, right? If you were to go to somebody who just said, hey, just input your email and your address and we'll give you a quote. But this other roofer says, hey, I need you to input your email, your address, when you bought the property, when the roof was last replaced, how many square feet your house is, what area you're in, blah, 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 blah. They are going to significantly decrease the amount of people that come through. However, if you go through all of the time to answer the 25 questions they've asked, then that shows them you are a much more serious customer than the person who just had to put their email in, because anybody can put their email in, right? And so one way that you can increase quality is by increasing the amount of questions that you asked. And again, just like with everything we're going to talk about today, you can go in reverse of that. Ask less questions, increase quantity, decrease quality, right? And so in transactional funding, you can go to my website, www.ifundwise.com, and you can look at the form that I have on there. And I have changed my intake form probably 100 times. Why? For this exact reason, right? If I wanted to decrease the quality and just bring in as many people as possible, then my intake form might just say, hey, put down your name, your email, and how much money you're asking for. And that's it, right? Somebody can do that in 2 seconds. But guess what? I'm gonna get 1 million people coming in there that have no business requesting funding, they have nothing backing it up, and it's not somebody I wanna work with. So how do I balance that? Well, basically, I do it through trial and error, which is my favorite way to do basically anything because I can just get proof behind it, right? So I say, okay, I'm going to put a crap ton of questions now. And I've done that. And then I start getting like almost no leads. And I'm like, okay, maybe that's a little bit too much. Can we remove this? Can we tweak this? How can we simplify this process so that it takes long enough for you to have to put in a little bit of effort, but not so long that you're like, screw this guy, I don't want to work with him, right? So that's strategy number 2 is increasing the requirements to get in the door, right? It's not just the targeting like we talked about in step 1, but now you're actually funneling. And this is, I mean, straight up, we're talking about intake forms. We're talking about applications, we'll call it that, right? So whatever business you're running, whether it's in the real estate space or not, it's just talking about the application itself. How long will it take for somebody to apply to work with you? The less time, the more quantity, the more time, the lower quantity, higher quality. And if you are optimizing for quality, increase the amount of questions and the right people will take the time to answer them. All right, strategy number 3 is the free offer versus the paid offer. This one is absolutely huge, getting people in the door. And I can share very specific experience with this in transactional funding because I have done exactly this. So if you want to increase the quantity of people, obviously you don't want to charge them anything up front for your services, right? This is, again, I'll use the roofing quote since I already used that, right? If one person says, hey, just for us to give you a quote, it's going to cost you $500. And then the other person's like, oh yeah, just put in the information, we'll send you over a quote. Who do you think 99% of people are going to gravitate towards? Well, it's going to be the person that doesn't charge any money, right? But here's the caveat. What if that person that doesn't charge any money has absolutely trash reviews, and this person over here that charges money, it turns out they charge money because they have really good reviews, because they work with really good people? Well, now you might be kind of in a balancing act, right? Where you're like, well, this costs money, but it's a way better service, right? It's got way better reviews, whatever it might be. It's the same exact thing in your business, whether it's a weight loss program, whether it's real estate, whether it's some sort of a service-based business, right? Whatever it might be, it's all about whether or not you want to increase the amount of friction to get somebody in the doors. When I got started, I did not require any upfront fee. Here's why. I wanted it to be as easy as possible for people to come in the door, right? Because I was not yet established as somebody that was doing this. And so I wanted them all to just come in the door, and then I would grind out all the time and hours it took to be successful to get them in to fund their deals. Here's what happened. I started with no deals, right? I started getting more deals, and then as those deals came in, what happened was I started spending a ton of time on deals that were garbage for free / actually to the detriment of myself, right? Because I was spending my time and sometimes even my money looking over these things with no upfront, payment from them. And then if the deal didn't go through or it fell through, whatever it might be, then I was just at a negative and they were like, sorry about that, and moved on, right? So no loss to them, loss to me. What did I do? I decided, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and now I'm going to increase the quality of my leads. So I started charging an upfront fee. And when I started charging an upfront fee, what that meant is that if somebody was just poking around, if they were just shopping around, if they weren't serious, there's no way in heck they're gonna pay me a couple $100 in an upfront fee, right? That would be stupid. But if somebody knows who I am, they know my track record, they know that I can get their deal funded quickly, then they could care less about funding that upfront fee, because at the end of the day, I'm gonna get the job done, and they know that. And that is the difference. So what happened? I went from getting a crap ton of low quality deals to way less, like significantly less, but much higher quality deals through charging. If somebody is willing to pay upfront for your services, there is just no possible way you are going to decrease in quality. You are absolutely going to increase in that quality and decrease in the quantity. And if that is what you're optimizing for, like we're talking about here, then that is a great strategy to use. Okay, now strategy number 4 is the application strategy. This means that you are requiring something from people that takes actual effort. Let me explain. If somebody has a form to fill out, right? Let's say, I always think of like surveys, right? A survey to fill out from a restaurant. And it's a 10-question survey, and it's like, did you have good service? Yes or no, right? And you just kind of get through that thing, didn't really take a lot of effort, and you get a reward. On the alternative, some restaurants will say, hey, explain to us in 3 sentences what your experience was like and how things went, right? Now they've gone from a question-based strategy to more of a survey or an application-based strategy, where you have to actually take what they're saying, think a little bit, write something out, put effort into it. This is like the effort equivalent of the monetary charges we talked about in strategy 3, right? So strategy number 4 is requiring that effort. Write out for me why you are looking to get funding from me, right? What is your reasoning? Why can't you fund this yourself? Tell me a little bit more about the deal. Tell me a little bit more about your experience. These are application-based questions that are going to significantly filter people down to the people who really need your money, who really know what you're talking about. The way that you can think about it is, if you say ask 1 question, or let's say you ask 5 questions that require somebody to like actually type out a response for something. If you have somebody that's not willing to take the time to do that, then the question for yourself is that even somebody that you're very interested in working with? And maybe it is for you, right? My answer is no, it's not. And that's why I can weed those people out, right? If you're asking me to put up my money, to give risk, to use my time, right? All of these things. But you're not willing to take 5 minutes. You're not willing to answer a few questions. Personally, I'm good. I don't need to work with you. That could change for you guys, but it is a very effective strategy of requiring application questions, and that is strategy number 4. Now, strategy number 5, and probably my favorite strategy to use in business, no matter what the business is, no matter what your goals are, is provide value first. If you provide value first to somebody, the quality of leads that you are going to get in return is going to absolutely skyrocket. Why? Because you are not just providing somebody a service on the back end that they may or may not reap the benefits from, they may or may not actually get what they were intending to get out of it. Instead, you have already over-delivered. you have already given value. There's so many examples of this in simple terms, right? Let's say that you're somebody that, one of the ones that I see on a daily basis, right, is somebody that wants to come in and, let's say, edit these YouTube videos for me, right? They want to come in and edit these YouTube videos. Well, how can they get the highest quality applicants to come in? Well, instead of me being like, hey, who's the cheapest YouTube editor or whatever, they reach out to me and say, hey, Ryan, I just edited one of your videos. It's that simple. Hey, I just edited one of your videos. Check it out. Let me know if you think that it looks good. Let me know if you have any interest in talking more about what I can provide. Now, I've got proof behind what you're doing. I can see how it's being used, and I can see how it can affect me personally without having to go through this awkward back and forth, cold, whatever. A service has been done, a value has been provided. Now, I don't have to ask or look or seek out what you can do. I can see what you can do. And so if you can provide somebody value first, you are always going to increase quality. In transactional funding, it's so simple. If you are going to somebody just trying to fund their deals, right? You're essentially, for better or for worse, you're just trying to take from them. You are trying to get them to bring you their business. In exchange, you will fund their stuff, but you're gonna make a bunch of money off of it, right? What if instead you said, hey, I saw that your business is struggling with this. I'm gonna come in and do this. I'm gonna help you systematize your emails or implement Slack or automate your contract signing, right? Something that can provide value for somebody, which, by the way, little secret here, if you're in the transactional funding space, this is the key that everybody is missing. Solve problems first and then make money. Solve problems, make money. It is absolutely overpowered in business, no matter what it is, because if you provide someone value first, whether they're willing to admit it, whether you're willing to admit it, it creates an I owe you one, right? Hey, this guy did something for me. I feel like I want to return the favor. And it's not necessarily owed, right? You don't want to treat it that way. But at the end of the day, that's what it looks like. They are going to feel indebted, and they're going to say, hey, you know what? This person gave me everything that I had asked for without charging anything, right? Or maybe without me even asking. I can give a really good example. The other day I was talking to somebody about AI, and I was looking for basically some auditing of things that I could use AI for, how I could implement it in my business. And they said, hey, look, instead of me just trying to sell you on something, what if I do this? Anytime you need help or you have questions, just reach out to me. Let me know. I'm happy to just provide that for free. And then if there's ever an opportunity where you need somebody to build something out, not me convincing you need it, but you actually run into something where you're stuck and you have an issue, then you can reach out to me and I'll provide your service. Well, that person has just created me as a great customer for them, because if I ever have a problem, I'm gonna come in already knowing what they can do, already trusting them because they've already provided me value, and now they've got a much higher quality, well, I guess I shouldn't talk about myself as if I'm higher quality, but I think you get the point. A higher quality customer, somebody that already knows what they're capable of and has already gotten value. And so if you want to increase the quality of people coming into you, then you need to increase the value, especially front end, that you are giving out to them in exchange. And that is strategy number 5, probably my favorite strategy, especially when you're getting started in business. Go give value first. Don't expect anything in return, and you will reap the benefits whether you know it or not. So that has been the 5 strategies, not that I came up with or thought about, but that I have actually used to increase the quality and decrease the quantity in my business. And now the question has to be asked, well, how do I know if, how, and when to implement this in my business, right? How am I going to make that determination? Here is the strategy I've used and the strategy I've seen other people use that is the most effective. First, you want to overload with leads, exactly like I said I did, where I thought that was perfect. But you don't go into it thinking it's right, you go into it with a plan, right? I wish I had done a better job of that. And if you can go with starting with just as many leads as possible. So that means basically doing the inverse of these things. If you're somebody that doesn't have a lot of leads right now, you can use these things and flip them to start before you flip it the other way, right? So decrease your targeting, right? Reach out to a broader group of people. Have less steps to jump through. Offer for free instead of having an upfront fee. Have no application questions and provide value, or I guess that one you could say could go either way. Yeah, it's always good to provide value first. But if you flip those things, then you are going to increase your quantity. And then once you've increased your quantity, then you can start turning those filters on, right? Let's filter it down a little bit. and a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more. And you can turn those on based on data, based on actual action-based things, instead of just, your theories on what may or may not work. And if you can do that, then you're going to build a better business, a more foundationally sound business in the process. And I think that's what we're all here to do, right? So if you're in a position where you need more quantity, focus on that first. That's lead generation, the core four. Cold outreach, warm outreach, creating content like this, grabbing some referrals, and maybe running some ads. And then once you've increased that quantity, then you can start to filter down. And if you do those in that order, I can't promise you that it's gonna work perfectly for you, but I can show you what's happened for me, right? Again, like I said, 12 months ago, way too much quantity. I was able to filter that stuff down to now we have higher quality, not so little that nothing's coming in, right? You gotta tweak it, you gotta play with this stuff all the time, but the right quality to quantity ratio for your time, for your goals, and for your business, which is gonna be different for one person to the next. But whatever that looks like for you, play with it. Know how to use these as levers so that you can find success in whatever you're defining that to be. I hope that this video has been an opportunity for you to write these things down, think about how you can implement them, see how I have already used them in my business as well. And I hope that you're able to learn something from this that you can go take right now, not tomorrow, not next week, not next month, right now, to increase the value of your business and get closer to your goals. Thank you guys for hanging out, and I'll see you in the next one.